Okay, is the future of democracy truly at stake in the U.S., as some contend? Is there really an emerging fascist movement? Well, yeah. Don't you watch the news? Come on, you're watching CNN. Yes.
Hey folks, Dale Jackson here. We got to talk a little bit about Bill Maher and his panel's take on fascism. At the beginning, Bill Maher starts to suggest, as you've already heard, that, yeah, there is a fascist movement in this country. You're watching CNN, aren't you? And he lays out that they're telling them the news and they're telling you there's fascism out there. But his audience kind of cheers that on, but his panel disagrees with that, and Bill Maher sort of comes around.
Okay, is the future of democracy truly at stake in the U.S., as some contend? Is there really an emerging fascist movement? Well, yeah. Don't you watch the news? Come on, you're watching CNN. Yes, there is. But no? All right, next question.
I would disagree about identifying it specifically as fascist, even though there is a far-right authoritarian movement. I don't think it meaningfully mirrors the fascist movements of Italy or Germany in the 20s and the 30s, and I don't think it's a particularly mobilizing thing to do, but I appreciate the tenor of the question, and I agree with it.
I mean, fascism was fascism.
Yes.
I mean, we shouldn't throw words around casually.
Exactly.
That is a word that
democracy.
People do throw that word around very casually.
But
And there's never any like specific definition of it that I know of. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I think that if you're going to go back to compare Italy, Germany, it took 1 year for it to go from an authoritarian situation to a more fascistic situation. And you know it when you start to experience a society in which there is a constant polarization, no complex issues can actually hold their polarities, and it becomes an either or, you or me, right or wrong, black and white. That system of culture breeds this.
Preach, sister. Okay.
The problem with Bill Maher and his assertion that, yes, of course, fascism exists sort of as a joke, maybe, is that it ignores that there is actual fascism in the country, but it's not the far-right authoritarian strain as some of these folks are talking about. It's coming from the people who are screaming about fascism. The people who are screaming about fascism constantly are the ones who would engage in fascistic tendencies given the opportunity. I mean, we call everything fascist. You want to enforce immigration laws? Fascist. You don't want people talking to your 8th grader about transgenderism? Fascism. No matter what we're talking about, if somebody says you shouldn't do this or you can't do this, they call it fascism. Can't come into the country illegally. Can't fill children's brains with mush. You're a fascist. That's not what it means. That's not what being a fascist is all about. And his panel explains to him and the audience what fascism actually is. And at the end, you get to the point where a woman starts to say things like, here's how we get to fascism. And she kind of hits on that as well. And I want to kind of focus on that for a second. The real fascism we're seeing in this country is when people show up and tell you you're not allowed to speak. You're not allowed to say the wrong things. You're not allowed to have opinions that are not approved by the state or by the mob. The mob will come and try to shut you down and silence you. We are seeing this in law schools. We are seeing this on college campuses. And it is an absolute disaster. Look at what happened when Michael Knowles, a Daily Wire host, tried to speak at a university this week. They were burning him in effigy. Okay, they were burning him in effigy because he had the wrong opinions. And they think they're the good guys, when really they're the fascists. And you hear people screaming about fascism who do not even understand it. There was a woman during the 2020 election who declared that if you didn't vote for Joe Biden, it was fascism, chief.
Listen, kiddo, I get it. I don't like the two-party system. I think our country's corrupt, and quite frankly, I don't want to vote for Biden. It feels like voting for a Republican. But I'm gonna do it. You want to know why? Because the alternative is a fucking fascist. A fascist is a fascist. Maybe we can have the conversation about dismantling the two-party system when a fascist isn't running. Maybe we can do that later, kiddo. Champ. Chief. Maybe we can talk about it later.
And again, it is worth highlighting. These people don't understand what fascism is, and they're engaging in a level of fascism themselves because they're trying to absolutely silence anyone who is trying to speak out against anything they disagree with. They think that there is a set level of things that we all have to accept, or the government should come in and make it so. And that right there is the fascistic tendency. And if you think that's wrong, listen to how they speak. Listen to how they talk. Look what they're doing to Matt Walsh right now on YouTube. You can't call Dylan Mulvaney a man, even though he clearly is, or they'll demonetize your entire channel. That's a problem. They're the fascists. That's clear to everyone, except for the people throwing around the word fascism, because again, they don't know what it means.